Everyone told me not to mess with the HOA. The moment I signed the closing documents on my house, my real estate agent leaned in and whispered, "Watch out for Karen." At the time, I laughed it off. How bad could one person be? It wasn't, until I installed a simple, small garden shed, that I realized I had underestimated the sheer force of HOA tyranny. The shed wasn't some massive eyesore. It was modest gray siding to match the house, a gently sloped shingle roof, a window with flower boxes, and it sat tucked in the far back corner of my fenced yard. You couldn't even see it from the road unless you climbed a tree. I built it myself on the weekends, one plank at a time, feeling proud every evening as I watched it come together. It was supposed to be my sanctuary, my workspace, my storage solution, my little slice of independence. Karen had other plans. I'd been in the neighborhood just under a month when the storm hit. Not a weather one, a Karen one. I was working late when my phone buzzed. It was a message from my neighbor Steve. "Dude, Karen's in your backyard with some kind of crew." I nearly dropped my laptop. Construction demo. I hadn't hired anyone. My heart began pounding. I called Steve. "She's got a guy with a hard hat and a small bulldozer. They're moving toward your shed." "Man, you need to get over here now." I bolted out of the office. Every red light felt like a year. I don't even remember parking. I just remember jumping the curb and sprinting around the house to my backyard. That's where I saw it. One worker in a neon vest was starting up a mini bulldozer, and Karen, wearing her giant sun hat and holding her ever-present clipboard, was pointing at my shed like a queen commanding a siege. "Hey," I shouted, "get off my property." "What the hell is this?" Karen turned slowly, smiling like this was all some fun misunderstanding. "Oh, good, you're here. We're taking care of your little outbuilding issue." "My what?" "That's my shed."
Yes.
"And it's not HOA approved."
Oh, yeah, approved.
Section C of the Community Guidelines. All outbuildings must be submitted in writing to the Architectural Committee and approved before construction begins. You didn't do that, so we're removing it. Don't worry, it's for your own good. I blinked. I was too stunned to speak at first. "You mean to tell me you sent a bulldozer into my backyard with zero notice and think this is okay?" Karen huffed, tapping her clipboard. A warning was mailed. It was clearly stated that if the structure wasn't removed by today, the HOA would take appropriate action. I never got any warning. Well, that's not my fault. Should check your mail more often. I looked at the worker in disbelief. "Don't touch it," I barked, stepping between him and the shed. He looked at Karen, then back at me. "Hey man, I'm just here doing what I was told. You're trespassing. You touch that shed, I call the cops and sue both of you." Karen made a dramatic show of sighing. "If you want to escalate, go ahead. I'm the HOA president. The rules are very clear." I was shaking. I wanted to scream, wanted to smash that clipboard over her head. But instead, I took a deep breath and looked her straight in the eye. "Fine. You win this round. But I'm not going to fight your rules. I'm going to replace you." Karen laughed. She actually laughed. "Oh, please. No one has run against me in 6 years. You think people care enough to vote in an HOA election? Go ahead. You'll be lucky if 10 people show up." That night I didn't sleep, sat at my computer and pulled up every document the HOA had ever posted. The bylaws, the meeting minutes, the architectural guidelines, everything. I found out that Karen had been re-elected year after year because no one else had ever bothered to run. No one liked her. They hated the idea of dealing with the HOA more than they hated her being in charge. Until now, the next morning I started knocking on doors. I introduced myself, explained what happened, and told people I was running for HOA president. At first folks were cautious. But when I mentioned the bulldozer, their faces lit up with recognition. "Oh, she did that to you too?" one guy asked. "She tried to fine me $200 because my grass was an inch too high." "She made my daughter cry," said another neighbor. Said her Halloween decorations were disturbing and non-conforming. It was a plastic witch and a pumpkin. I started getting signatures. I made flyers. I hosted a neighborhood cookout in the park, paid for the permit myself, and put a big sign next to the grill that read, "Karen says this party is non-compliant. We say, let's eat. People loved it. They were tired of being ruled by fear and fines. They wanted change. And I was the only one offering it. Election day finally arrived. Karen showed up to the clubhouse early, decked out in a floral dress and clutching her signature clipboard. She clearly thought it was going to be business as usual. But as the room filled, her smile faded. People were coming in dozens of them. Some had never attended a meeting before in their lives. The ballots were anonymous, but you could feel it in the air. When the vote was counted, the results were read aloud by the secretary, who seemed almost giddy for once in the election. For HOA President, Karen, 11 votes. Alex, that was me, 38 votes. The room broke into quiet cheers. Some people clapped. Others just smiled. Karen stood there frozen, like someone had kicked her off her throne. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. "This neighborhood will fall apart without my leadership." I stepped forward and offered my hand. "Thanks for your service. Your reign is over." She ignored my hand and stormed out of the building, muttering something about calling a lawyer. I stood there, stunned but victorious. I hadn't just saved a shed, I had sparked something bigger. The neighborhood had spoken, and for the first time in years, they were heard. But the best part? I wasn't done yet, because the real fun was only just beginning. After that vote, everything changed. I wasn't just the guy who got his shed bulldozed anymore. I was the new HOA president. With the power Karen used to abuse now in my hands, and I had a list. Not a petty list for revenge, but a list of every outrageous overreaching, downright ridiculous rule Karen had shoved down the neighborhood's throat for years. I wasn't going to just reverse her damage. I was going to make sure no one like her ever ran this place again. First, I rebuilt my shed. I didn't even wait a week. I got a permit this time just to keep it clean, and I rebuilt it twice as big, with better wood, insulation, and solar-powered lighting. I even added a tiny porch and a rocking chair out front. The best part? I put a tiny wooden plaque on the front wall that read, "Karen's Legacy." People walking by would laugh and snap pictures. But while the new shed was going up, I started digging into HOA records. And that's when I discovered something that felt like karma had written it herself. Karen had her own shed, hidden behind a thick line of hedges along her backyard fence, just far enough from the road that no one would casually notice it. I wouldn't have either if I hadn't been going through permit logs and found nothing. No approval, no architectural request, no record of her ever even mentioning it. And it wasn't just the shed. I discovered multiple violations: an illegal above-ground compost system, an electric pool heater drawing power from a non-compliant wiring setup, and even a pergola that was built during a supposed structure. Freeze she herself had voted in. The hypocrisy was staggering. She had destroyed my shed for being unapproved, while hers had been quietly sitting in violation for years. And now, I had the authority to enforce the rules, so I followed the same process she used against me. I printed out an official HOA violation notice, complete with photos, and posted it right on her front door, early in the morning when I knew she'd be home. The paper read, "Asterisk, your property contains multiple unauthorized structures and modifications. Per Section C of the Architectural Code, these must be removed within 10 business days or face corrective action from the HOA." Asterisk it ended with, asterisk consider this a mercy demolition. Asterisk later that day, she stormed into the HOA office, which was now just a room at the community center I'd cleaned up and organized myself, red-faced and shaking with rage. She slammed the notice down on the desk. "What the hell is this, Alex?" I leaned back in the chair and gave her the same calm expression she used to give everyone else. Looks like a standard violation notice. Page 47, Section C. Tss. Think you're funny? I think I'm consistent. He told me the rules are the rules and I should have read the handbook. Well, I read it, every page. And you, Karen, have about 4 different violations. Asterisk, I've lived here 15 years. That shed's been there since 2010 and never approved. That makes it unauthorized. Your compost setup is violating sanitation code. Your pool heater wiring could be a fire risk. The pergola well, It's on the list. Her hands trembled. You're doing this for revenge. No, I said plainly. I'm doing this to show the neighborhood that the rules don't apply to just the people you didn't like. They apply to everyone, even you. Karen left, seething. She must have thought I was bluffing. But I wasn't. On day 11, I called. The same demolition crew she had used on my shed. I even called the same guy in the hard hat. This time, he laughed when I told him the job. No kidding? The clipboard lady? You got it, boss? I delivered one final notice to her mailbox. This wasn't petty. It was justice done by the book, following her own process. She didn't answer the door that morning, but she was definitely watching from the upstairs window when the crew arrived. I waved. Then I sat down on a lawn chair with a mug of coffee while they tore down her hidden shed. The neighborhood came out again this time for the show. Steve brought popcorn. Smith clapped. Same little girl Karen made cry over. Halloween decorations walked by and whispered, yes, with a fist pump. The shed came down in under 2 hours. The compost bins were hauled away. The illegal wiring was flagged and disconnected. The pergola was given a 30-day notice. Karen never spoke a word to me during or after the demolition, but I heard she went to a lawyer. The lawyer took one look at the documentation, the timestamps, the signatures, and told her she didn't have a case. Everything had been handled exactly how she would have done it, just without the arrogance. 3 months later, her house went up for sale. She didn't even attend the final HOA meeting before she left. At that meeting, I stood up in front of a packed room, probably the most people the HOA had ever seen in one place, and laid out my plans for the neighborhood moving forward. No more surprise bulldozers, I said. No more clipboard patrols. We're forming a real board, multiple people with rotating terms. We'll make the rules clear, simple, and fair. We'll listen to each other before making decisions. People clapped, not because it was dramatic or fiery, but because they were relieved. The Karen era was over. A week after she moved out, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but the handwriting was unmistakably hers. It was short, just a single sentence. Asterisk, enjoy your little kingdom. While it lasts, asterisk, I laughed, crumpled it up, and tossed it in the recycling bin. My shed still stands. Strong, clean, legal. The flower boxes are full of marigolds, and the solar lights glow at night like little stars. Every time I sit out there, coffee in hand, I smile. Because when someone bulldozes your shed without warning, you can cry. About a tour, you can run for president, expose their own violations, and watch karma level theirs first.